Hello everybody, my name is Tiffany, I'm the Tipsy Artist, and today we are going live to teach you how to do some beautiful sunflowers and some bumblebees. Alright, so it must be sunflower week. I'm doing a lot of sunflowers, so let me show you the model. We have this beautiful model here. So it is just gorgeous. We have so many wonderful techniques to share with y'all today. All right, so that's going to be what we'll go by. I'll definitely post this on the video itself, so you can always see that and reference that. And then here is our trace. So the templates we have that go with this kit are really amazing. It makes the process super easy. So let me go ahead and show you that. So we have this wonderful shape here to trace around. And then of course you place this one in a couple of different areas. I'm being silly. All right, little bumblebee, and then also the leaf. All right, so that is a very full, amazing template set. And then of course, also with your kit comes a set of paints. Looks way better than mine. And then also your brushes, and then of course the canvas. So it has everything that you need. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Our very first step on this is to go ahead and do all the really pretty light, bright colors first. That way you can be just as free with the process as you want. And then you can come in with your darker colors and sort of tidy up a little bit at the end. But we want as much free time as we can, just time to kind of play and be really loose with the color. So what I've got over here to the side, and I'm going to be using my mama brush to start with here. This is the biggest brush that you've got in your kit, and I'm going to start with a really pretty primary yellow. So that looks like that beautiful shade right there. I've also got a little bit of this cadmium yellow that I can go ahead and work into it. It's a little bit darker, warmer. And then little touches of red every now and then too. So that's a really pretty accent, and I'll be working that in. Excuse me. All right, I need water. Hold on, I did my thing where I worked out before I came up here and I got in a hurry and then I forget to drink water. That is not good. Remember to hydrate. So it's really good that I stay in shape. Hi, Greg. But I have to remember to drink water after I work out, because what I do is I work out, I jump in the shower, I run down here to do this, and then I realize I'm super thirsty and I haven't had any water. So, and then y'all get to watch me drink water on my live. Yay! All right, so what have we learned here today? We have learned that you need to work out and then drink water before you come teach your live. All right. So what we have now, we've got all of our primary yellow, our cadmium yellow, and I'm gonna, oh, you know what? You can also have little touches of white to this too. So this will be a very pretty highlight that will come in. Yay, thank you. Hi, Dina. Hi, Greg. All right, so I'm gonna start with my primary yellow first, and maybe a little touch of that cadmium yellow too. And I will start to position these into those shapes here, into the petals. And because this is so light, I can be a little bit sloppy with it. That means I can kind of go out of lines a little bit. And I don't have to worry about it, because the color that will come in right next to it will be quite a bit darker. So that's when I'll try to be a little bit more diligent about cleaning up a little bit. So you can definitely feel very free with this process, and then just kind of work in all of this beautiful bright yellow here to begin with. So I'll do one with just all of this really pretty bright yellow here. And this has been a really big favorite. I just realized I forgot a line. By the way, let's talk about this trace a little bit here too. I would say that as you're doing this, there's a lot of intricacy to this trace, so definitely use a pencil first. And then when you're happy with it, and especially with what you know is going to come out in the foreground, that gives you a chance to erase certain lines that are with objects that are in front. And then when you're happy with all the lines that are in place, then you can go ahead and firm up with your Sharpie. And then that will make the process a whole lot easier. I definitely think it helps to have those lines Sharpied out to begin with. Definitely bleeds through the paint, but it's a really nice little help there, a little cheat. Yay! Oh, sweet. Awesome. That's exciting. So you will be in Ringwood then. So Ringwood, by the way, for anybody else who's watching, they have the Indian Creek Village Winery, and it is a gorgeous place. And we'll have a show there on July 10th, Friday night. And basically, he's got a really big event center. I mean, capacity is about 200 people in there. And we're social distancing and safe volume, so we're not going to have nearly that many. So it's going to be super safe. Everybody can be really spread out. And you can even go out to the courtyard if you want and have a glass of wine out there. So it'll be super lovely. Hi, Donna. Thank you so much. All right, so this is, you'll have to tell me if I'm saying this right. If I say Tara, would that be correct? You'll have to, sometimes I say hi to people and I don't know if I'm saying their names right. But hello, everybody. And that's all the names I can see right now. All right, so I've got a little bit of a base down of my wet primary yellow. So while the paint is still a little bit wet, I want to get a soft blend of other accent colors happening here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my cadmium yellow, which is a little bit darker. And then I want to do just like a little, almost looks like a little parentheses, kind of just, it's an echo of that same line, but I want it to have a little bit of a soft blend over the top. So I'll go ahead and put that on while it is wet and push it on into each one of those petals. And actually what I'm going to do, I'm thinking that's a little bit of a struggle with that brush. I'm able to pull it off, but it's a bit of a struggle, which I don't like. We don't like struggle. So let's go ahead and come back in with my little bit brush. This makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to do quick little lines here. And again, that stroke, it kind of looks like you make a little parentheses. And you do that on each one of those petals there. So that's going to be quite lovely. All right, I'm loving that. And then a little bit of the red too is super lovely. So I'll go ahead and come in with the red here. And I'll just come around the very outside edge and you'll see how pretty that is. And I may not do that on every single petal. We'll just see. All right, so again, a little touch of red while the primary yellow is still wet. And just do one quick little stroke there. Just makes a nice, fun little accent. All right, one more right here. All right, very pretty. Now what I want to do is I want to come in with some white. So white will make a really pretty accent on all these petals as well. So again, still using my little bit brush, so I'll go ahead and push into the white and do a fun little accent in here. And if it's a little bit too abrupt and you lose too much of your yellow, you can also mix in a little bit of the white and the yellow. But I definitely love that little accent happening. And you can even kind of do a soft brush back into the red. And what'll happen there is that'll create more of like a light pink effect, but still a really pretty accent. Sometimes I just alternate with all of them, all over again. Just creating lots of really pretty layers. So I'm using my little bit brush here. And again, this stage, just really trying to focus on getting into each one of these petals. And I'm not really concerned about staying in the lines too much because I know that I can tidy up later, so I just enjoy the freedom right now at this point. All right, so I'm done with my little bit for just a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit in the water. That way it doesn't set up and dry and ruin the brush, because acrylic paint does set up and dry pretty quickly. So now I'm going to come back to my mama brush. I'll, push into a lot of this primary yellow here. And I'll start to just fill into all of these little petal shapes. And remember, I said I was going to be a little bit sloppy with this first run. I'm just really trying to get into the shape. I know that my Sharpie line will definitely hold up and bleed through, so I don't have to worry about preserving that line work. Because we'll come back in and tidy that up in a minute. But for right now, we just want to get really good coverage over all these sweet little petals here. I'll come back through all the way around. And I'll do the same thing up here at the top. Really long strokes in there. And again, we want to work in all of the lighter shades first. That way they can be as vibrant as they can be, and they don't get muddied with any dark colors. So I want to be real clear that the black lines that you're seeing here to begin with are just made with a Sharpie. So they're nice and dry, and they will not blend at all with this bright yellow. That's really important, because I know sometimes when I teach my classes in studio, I'll have some people that will get confused by all the dark lines they see, and they'll immediately try to work in black lines with paint, and then they really struggle for the rest of the class because everything becomes muddy and gray and blackened with all that black paint. All right, one other thing I'll do too is I want to go ahead and hit the little yellow stripes on the Bumblebee, like When in Rome. Since I know those are super bright yellow, I'll go ahead and just hit into those. Again, not really concerned about being super tidy with it, since I know that I will be coming into and around those shapes later with much darker colors, and it's going to tidy all that up. Hello, Mariah. Hello, Donna. Welcome, welcome. All right, so here we go. We have all of our beautiful yellow done now. Now I want to come back in with my little bit brush. Here's a little bit. And then I want to do some highlights now. So I'm going to come in with a little bit of some red. You know what? Here's the other thing. I need to make sure, oops, some water is dripping off of my brush. I need to go ahead and tidy that up. So I've got a rag over here, and I just make sure that's super dry. I don't want any water runs happening on my canvas. All right, so I've got wet paint still, so I'm gonna go ahead and push into the red. And then I'll do just quick little lines of red in here. And then you can soften a little bit too as you go by pushing in a little bit more of that cadmium. And maybe a little bit more of that primary yellow too. Just kind of softly blend into that. So sometimes it kind of turns it to a really pretty light pink too. It's really nice. So again, little bit brush. And happy Saturday! It's been a really nice day. We actually had been working a lot this morning, setting up a show. But it's really, well, I don't know what it's like now. It's probably really hot, but it was really cool out there earlier. And we were kind of thinking, man, this is like California weather or something. All right, so here we go. All right, Mariah, you're gonna have to give me some feedback. So it says on here, wave, and it says bring them on camera. And I have hesitated with this because I'm not sure. I kind of feel like everybody feels the same way I do about the whole camera thing. Like, what? Wait, that's the first feeling I have about it. Is what is this? Facebook. And I don't know about y'all, but there's just been too many times when I've been talking to my mom. I mean, even just, I mean, I don't know. People just are, they feel like they're in the privacy of their own home and they may not be completely dressed, you know, and so I don't know if they're quite ready to get pulled on camera. So we'll have to maybe do a casual live and experiment with the free and the brave. maybe not the super free. But you know. Thank you so much. Hi, Leota. All right, so we're still pushing in just a little tiny amount of that red. I'm gonna do smaller little amounts of it up here at the top. And then I'll come back in with little bits of that cadmium. Let's do some more up here too before it just completely sets up too much. That red is the darkest, so I definitely want to get a little bit of a soft blend. Yeah, we'll have to give it, yeah. But see, you probably weren't ready for it today. I just know, I thought, oh gosh, if I pull somebody on camera, we might all get a little shock. But it could be really fun, like if somebody's actually, you know, like really doing the painting with me, and maybe they're struggling a little bit with it, or you know, they could actually show me what they're doing, and then I could actually see it, and it would really help me understand how to, you know, address the situation. So I could definitely see the benefit of it, but we all want to be prepared for that. All right, so now I'm going to come in with a little bit more of that primary yellow. I've got those beautiful red accents happening. Now more primary yellow, maybe even a little touch of white. And then I'll start to push those into each one of these here. Also, I've got a lot of red, so I'm going to do a quick little wipe with my brush, like on a paper towel here. Let's get some of that excess red on, or off rather. And then what I want to do now is I want to come in lighter. All right, so lighter here. Primary yellow, white, and then let's push that into each one of those little petals here. We've done this class once in studio, and I was so pleased with how it went, because I was thinking, oh, this could be really hard. I wasn't sure, and people actually really pulled it off. I mean, everybody's little sunflowers looked beautiful, and all their bees, everything looked really good. All right, I'm going to hit some of these with a little bit more white, kind of bring back in that highlight. And I'm actually really loving some of the brush strokes that happen on each one of the petals, because it looks like those nice little fine, delicate lines that actually really happen on the petals. And so I just lightly pull that out, starting from the center and then all the way out to the ends. All right, lovely. All right, up here I want to pull in a little bit more warmth into each one of these. So I'm kind of touching into, as I go, there's a lot of mix that happens actually on the canvas on this one. So not a lot of pre-mixing, otherwise you would just create probably a peach, and you would have all solid peach. So we love the mix of different colors. You see all these different colors happen in each petal. Hello, Kathy. So that's what's really nice about this, is you see all the different colors happening as you mix on the canvas. So I'll see touches of white and touches of red and touches of cadmium yellow. And again, intentionally being a little bit sloppy here, because I know that I'll be coming back in with darker colors over the surface here in just a little bit. So it'll definitely tidy all that up. There's my honey bear. Hello, baby. We say hello. Anybody else do that? We don't know why. Yeah. It's like a weird way to say hello. I'm not even sure where it came from. It's from his family. My family never did that. Maybe it's from a movie or something. Well, or they're really funny people. They have lots of little words that they create all on their own. I won't go into all those, but they are very creative with the English language. And so I always think, where'd you get that from? And they're like, well, we created that. I'm like, awesome. I need to get Joe to come on camera more so that he can teach y'all some of his crazy ways. He's got some really fun stuff. We need to do like different projects. All right, so here we go. I want to accentuate a little bit more of the lines in between. So a little bit more of a dramatic touch of red there. All right, very, very fun. Okay, so now we have all these beautiful colors done on our sunflowers. And as a recap here, know that I was mixing back and forth as I went. Hello, Mark. Welcome, welcome. All right, so I've got my primary yellow, my white, my red, and my cadmium. Cadmium, what is it? Uh-oh, I've forgotten. Cadmium yellow. Okay, so it almost looked a little bit orangey, so I wanted to be sure about that. All right, so beautiful colors are happening there. All right, so wonderful. Okay, so I've got all those done. So now we can actually start to come into some darker shades. I'm going to say black till the very, very end though, because we don't want it to interrupt any of the beautiful, vibrant, bright colors. So we want to save that till the very end. So my next color, I think, will be, let's do some of that beautiful green. All right, so this is the beautiful green we'll use on our leaves and our stems. And so you can do a really pretty cadmium green, it's just a real basic green. And then if you want to bring in some drama in our kit, see, we've got a good drama. This is a good kind of drama. So I've got some Viridian here. It kind of pushes more to the teal. And sometimes I really enjoy adding a little touch of turquoise sometimes. I do want to be real careful with that here though, because I want my sky to be turquoise, and so I don't want too much turquoise in the leaves or they're all going to blend into each other and you're not going to see the contrast there. So if you do want some of those dramatic effects, I would push more to the dark shades of that for the leaves. And then I would add a whole lot of white into the turquoise to bring forth this seafoam color. So much love out there, I love it. I'm seeing all kinds of little heart emojis. That's exciting. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and add some white to this cadmium green here. And I want this little touch of teal in there too. So that'll, see how that takes it to kind of a darker shade. So it's very pretty. I'll still have really nice contrast with my background, even though it's going to be a little bit of that like turquoise color. And then I've got my little bit brush here, so I'll go ahead and just work all the way around the edges. And actually, this is pretty big in here, so you know what, I'm gonna switch gears. I'm going to switch over to my mama brush. All right, so here is Mama. This is the biggest brush that we've got in our kit. Hello, Megan. All right, so I am pushing into cadmium green, white, and Viridian. It's kind of a tricky name, and I sure hope I'm saying it right. Nobody has corrected me so far, so that's good. It still happened though. It's funny, I have a cousin that always corrects me. She is super, does anybody else have a family member that does that? The ones that are painfully great at grammar. And And so they will let you know if you have a grammatical error. But those are great people to have around, like if you need to prove something. They do not hold back. All right, so I can use the line edge of this to go ahead and come in around these long lines. Really helps it make it easy. And I've got a little separation here, so I'm going to go ahead and dip into that darker color of the Viridian. And I want see how I want to separate that between the stem and the leaf. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that in place so that I see a separation between those two shapes there. I also want to make sure that I have that here as well. Want some of that darker Viridian coming out from that stem shape so that I don't lose the shape of that leaf separating from that stem. So it's going to be quite a bit darker. Then I'll push into this lighter shade and then work this out into the shape of the leaf. So I'm turning the brush now over to the side, parallel to the canvas, and this will give me really good coverage over the surface. And I just covered up all that wonderful dark line that I was trying to create. All right, let's do that again. Just crazy. All right, so here we go. We're going to come back in with that Viridian. Just hit it one more time softly on the side of the brush. So that'll create a little bit of some contrast between those two shapes so that they don't get lost. And I can always come back in later and hit it with a little bit of some like black outline as well too. That'll help me out. All right, so now I'm going to come back into this shape here. A lot of this just cadmium green with a little bit of the white just mixed in. And to get good coverage so that it doesn't get too transparent on you, make sure and hold that brush on the side. And you know what, you can still be a little bit sloppy because your Sharpie will bleed through, which is beautiful. And you don't really have to worry about being super, super tidy until the very end when we come in with that turquoise. And then you're gonna have to tighten up a little bit and get focused and then do the right thing. See, now I'm having to tidy here. Look at that. I gotta come in and around all those little petals because I was a little bit free and enjoying the process, and I encourage you to do that as much as possible. But at some point you do have to come in and tighten up around little bitty lines, which is what we are having to do now. So here I go. But see, that was really easy to come back in and do that little correction in there. So then I'll just fill in all of this here. And just lightly feather it out with the flat side of the brush. And then I'll do my little stem here. And Mama Brush is fitting in to this very nicely. Now I need to use Little Buddy. So here's Little Buddy. Little Buddy still has a little flat top, but it's quite a bit smaller. And I've run into some areas here where it's pretty small. And you might even have to use Little Bit, which is your smallest brush. But I'm going to go ahead and work in and around those little petals there. Do my cut-in work and go ahead and get this all green in here. So hold it like a pencil to do your cut-in work, and that gives you more control, those more precise lines. But then hold it over to the side. Now this brush is super small, so it's kind of digging into the paint, and I got to refeather here. What I mean by that is hold this bigger brush out to the side and kind of refeather this back into the surface area. And then I'll be coming back into that later to help define the stem See how it got lost again? But I will come back in with some black and help really kind of tidy that up and help define it. All right, so here again, I need to do little small areas. A little bit of wet primary yellow paint. Not a big deal because it actually has a beautiful blend with the green. So it just almost makes it look a little bit more like a lime green, but it's still quite vibrant and pretty. So I'll use a smaller brush to go ahead and get into these smaller areas here. And then now I'm going to turn it more to the side, using the flat side of the brush to kind of feather out that stroke and to get much better coverage over the top here. And then I'm going to switch over to Mama here, bigger brush. This will help me get into this area and have much better coverage over the surface. And as much as possible, I can kind of be very delicate here, but I can try to feather back into those tiny little shapes and get good coverage over that stem too. All right, so now we're having to do a little bit of that cut-in work here to help tidy up around the flower and pull into those beautiful leaf shapes that hold that flower up. And this is all still looking a little bit raw and unfinished because we still have to do a lot of turquoise in our background. And then we also have to work in a lot of black too. So the black is just going to be dynamite at the end. It's going to be awesome. It's going to make everything really pop and bring everything forward. So it's really going to be a lovely, nice touch there. Right, so now I'm feathering out those strokes, eliminating some of that transparency and just making sure we've got really good coverage. All right, I need a little bit more green and white going here. So I'll work into these bottom stems. Let's work that in. Avoiding everything around this because that will be the sky in the background. So just working into little leaf shapes in here. And then remember, look, check your end. See, I still have a nice thin line edge, so I use that as much as possible to cut in around shapes. So that's really working for me. So I'll go ahead and cut all the way around and then just lightly fill in here. And then this one here, it's gonna be the last, I think. Am I right? Yes. All right, so this is gonna be the last of our little green leaves. And I'm gonna check for any more little bits of paint that I kind of have to feather out and get, if I see any little bits of transparency happening, then I'll kind of fill back into that. See a little bit of transparency there, so I'll go ahead and hit that on the side of the brush again, work that back in. Same thing here. Just hit it with another second coat. And this is looking a little thin, so I'm going to hit that with a second coat. Same thing here. Light feathering with the brush, just kind of work that back in. All right, so that's some really nice texture. Happy with that. All right, so now I'm gonna put both of these brushes into the water, and now we need to work in a lot of our beautiful turquoise. All right, so I need to get another plate going. Had one, there. All right, so this will be, if you're using our paint kit, it'll be the Viridian, and then we've got some cyan blue, and then lots of white. So just white paint. And another helpful hint with our paint kit that I think is good to do is you might want to get just cheap white paint. We use so much volume on the white. And black can be another one too that you use a lot of, but especially white. White is the most used color. You know, even when I'm ordering for my shop, you know, I may just order 3 of one color, but 20 of white. So we tend to just need so much more that it mixes with everything. So I encourage you to get a lot of extra white. And I will also work on getting that for you too to sell at our shop. That's something I need to look into as well, but that's a really good thing to have. Let's see here. So my background is going to be the blue, the white, and then let's do a little bit of some green here. All right, so I need my mama brush. That is not enough green. I may have to do my little trick where, okay, I'm getting a little bit out. All right. Y'all know me, I don't put lids on things. Some of you know I don't. Yeah, it's a bad habit. So it dries up at the top, which helps protect the paint, which is good. That's what saves me from paint wastage. But I have little tricks where I come back into it and I just keep these little, I think these are wood screws. Joe might be so proud of me. Maybe. I'll have to verify if that's truly a wood screw. I think it is. I don't know. Anyway, I use this to go back into the tops of the dried containers. It helps me get more paint out. All right, so here we go. We've got this beautiful light turquoise we're mixing up. For the most part with the turquoise, it's going to be equal parts. We've got 1 dollop, you know, just pick up about the same size dollop of the white, and then the blue, and then the green. Mix all that together, and then you can kind of manipulate it from there, but see how that makes a really pretty turquoise? And then you can push it to a different direction. You can add a lot more white if you want to really lighten up your sky. And I usually do come in with a lot more white and really lighten up the sky quite a bit. Light, bright day. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just spread this across the top here. Nice horizontal strokes, just working that into my background. And then I like a lot of just mixing as we go to happen on the canvas. So I'll go ahead and push into a little bit of pure white, not cleaning up my brush, just going ahead and working into the background. So this can kind of look like a little bit of cloud cover, just pushing back and forth. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to cut in, and then I can add a little bit of texture to the background. So what I want to do is, first of all, I need to make sure that my brush is thin again, and it is not. So it got, while I was mixing, actually let me do this again so you can get a good visual. So I'm going to do a hard mix here, a lot of pressure, and then look what happens to the end of the brush. So I'm going to have a really hard time cutting into delicate little small spaces with that mess happening. So if it gets too much and you can't quite spread it out and thin it out again, like I'm just applying really firm pressure, just sweeping it back and forth. But it looks like I'm going to be able to do it. So that helps release some of that paint out. Still keeps the brush loaded with paint, which is nice, because you've worked really hard mixing all this up, so you don't necessarily want to completely clean it off. But see, now I've got a nice thin line edge again, so then I can use this as I hold it more like a pencil. So this can help me work in and around these little edges again. And now this is where we do our little tidy cleanup. So we start to come in and around all those little petals. And turquoise has really good coverage, so it will really easily cover over the top here. So I'll first hold it again like a pencil. Then as I feather out into the background, then I want to change how I hold the brush. And I start to do this really pretty little crisscross stroke. So you just want to lightly feather that way, lots of repetition. And then I also like to pull in additional colors as I go and get a nice light mix as I go. So I'm definitely pulling in a lot of white. The good news about the white, it helps it cover better over the surface area, and it just really brings in a nice light highlight into your texture in here. So it's really pretty, really nice look. So I'll keep working this in back and forth. All right, so I've got my turquoise. A lot of this cut-in work to start with. And it feels like you're making lots of letter V's, like this. So that's what the stroke will feel like. And just keep an eye on the end, and if it does get too filled with paint, of course, just kind of remember to do a quick little wipe. Sometimes you might even have to use a paper towel, wipe the excess off, and then just reload and apply really firm pressure back and forth until you get back to that thin line edge. And then as we go in this area, remember to keep feathering in some more of that little bit of white, and then make what looks like little letter X's over and over and over again into this area. So little letter X's, and that just really helps blend all of that back into the background. Looking at it, I've got a little bit of a, I have to do a little squat here. See the lights almost kind of blind me, like I can't see details on the painting. So I have to get a different angle so I can see everything. So if you wonder what I'm doing, that's what I'm doing. All right, so more cut-in work here. And especially as I get in and around this little bit of green stem work, I'm gonna really wanna lighten up a lot with my sky, because I want lots of contrast there. So see how I'm really pushing into a lot of white now? Because I do not want to lose my stems. And if you've got too much of that teal next to the turquoise sky, you could just end up losing all your shapes, and we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to really lighten up in here. And you may have to switch over to a smaller brush in some of these little areas in here, because it gets to be really teeny. I'm still able to manipulate the mama brush, but for beginners, you might want to, especially as you get into these little tight areas in here, you can definitely switch over to your, let me give you a visual, little buddy brush. So you can cut in with that one and then just kind of lightly feather out. And then as soon as you get back out into a larger area, then you can absolutely just switch over to your mama brush. Because you'll notice the bigger the brush, the easier it is to get better application over the surface, and to also kind of feather out any brush strokes and get really good coverage. So big brushes are really nice for that. All right, lots of cut-in work. And I might even pick up a little bit of that yellow, which is actually okay. That's another reason why I wasn't really worried about having a lot of that free overlap at the very beginning, because yellow is also a really nice mix with turquoise. It's another option, as a matter of fact. Another way to mix up turquoise can also be with blue, yellow, and white. So it's another way to do that. So it'll have a nice soft blend in here. And then also, if you happen to get a little bit of the red, like let's say you had a little bit of wet red still behind as well, red will mix with that little bit of blue, and it can kind of pull a little bit to the purple and the lavender. So either way, you're still pretty safe on what softly blends into the next shade here. All right, lots of feathering out now. Just keep pushing that back and forth. Keep coming back and forth into this with those little crisscross motions. Our sky is really starting to take shape now. It's looking really lovely. You can also come in with a little bit of just bright, vibrant cobalt blue too, which is really pretty. And then feather it out. All right, getting near a lot of this green, so I'm going to come in with a lot more white. Make sure I've got good contrast here. Still using my mama brush, allowing that long line edge to work for me. Let's feather that out. This is definitely an area where you might have to come in with your little buddies. So here's little buddy. Let's go ahead and use little buddy here, a little bit safer. This is a nice tiny area, so let's give you a visual on that. So I held it like a pencil to make my line edge. And then I've got to get rid of those. You're going to see brush strokes close up and some transparency. So then once you get done doing the thin line edge, you'll definitely have to feather it out. So then you want to get a nice little dollop of paint on one flat side, and then just turn it over to the side parallel to the canvas, and let's softly feather that out here. And I need a little bit of white. Mine got a little dark in there. I need to do a softer blend in there. But see, I don't want to lose my contrast next to that stem, so I'm going to push in a little bit more white so that I get a nice soft blend into that turquoise. The white helps it blend in, and it also creates that really nice contrast. Hello, Shannon, and thank you. All right, so here we go. We're going to continue on. Nice soft blend, feather it out, little crisscross blending. All right, so it's getting to be pretty big now. I can go ahead and shift back to my mama. And by big, I meant we've just got more wide open space here. So that became a little tight in there, but now that we're into the wide open spaces, I can go ahead and shift back over to a bigger brush, using the line edge and then feathering out. Remember to grab that little bit of white, push that back and forth in there. Light feathering. Alright, so still working on our sky and also our cut-in work here. So nice contrast of turquoise, and just blend as you go. Blend as you go. And then feather it out. Little X's back and forth. Alright, I've got some light stem work I'm getting next to here, so I want to add more white so that I have nice contrast in and around this area. And then as I pull away from that stem, then I can mix in a darker hue of the turquoise to help blend in with the rest of the sky, and also to help kind of do my beautiful cut-in work next to these little petals here. And then remember to feather it back in, do that little cross-hatch stroke back and forth. Back and forth, back and forth. All right, so now we've got more work to do next to green. So again, keep it light because I don't want to lose that shape. So I'm going to come in with some solid white here, in with that mix. And then pull out to the side. And then feather it out. All right, same thing here. Keep it light. All right, I'm getting so tight in here, I'm having a hard time manipulating this. So I'm going to turn this over to the side. Oh, I can see that a lot better now. Got out of that flash zone. I'm like, ooh, seeing some stuff. Need to blend that back in. Let me touch that real quick. Can y'all even see what I'm doing? I'm gonna get out of the way. But, so I pulled that out of, I've got a big light for filming. I pulled it out and I saw some dry brush that wasn't quite blended in, so now I'm seeing that. So I'm just doing a soft little crosshatch stroke into that. I eliminated that, so I am much happier with that. All right, sweet. Okay, so now I'm gonna come back in with my lighter white here, and still a little touch of that turquoise. But again, keep it really light up next to the green for contrast. So it's almost looking like a really soft seafoam color. And it's gonna get tiny in here, so I may have to switch to my little buddy, we'll see. Yeah, I think I pulled it off, okay. All right, so again, it's really almost like a really pretty sea foam. Cut in around all those little petals, around the leaves. Still using my mama brush. But remember, you can switch gears over to your little buddy if it gets really tiny in here and you can't quite get this brush in there. Cut in around the petals. It's looking good. Almost done with our whole sky. It's very exciting. Kind of lightly feather that in there. Make sure. Boy, I see this whole other side now too. That's a good idea, by the way. You might want to turn your canvas a little bit as you do the process to kind of make sure you're getting all sides, seeing it from different angles, checking the light around every part there. All right, so lots of beautiful sky now. And we still have good contrast around all of our pretty little leaves. Now we're getting to that point where we can really start to add in a lot of our black and our details. So this is going to be fun. We can work in the little black areas of our bumblebees in the center of our flowers, and then really help define all the areas around our little petals and all that good stuff. All right, so I'm going to put this plate off to the side, and I still want a nice thin line edge. We've got some long lines to work into, so all right, so I'm still going to use my mama here, and I do not have any black. I will get some. Okay, hold on. Yay, it came right out. This is exciting. Okay. All right, so I've got some black nearby. I'm going to take this brush. No water. It just depends. Okay, so here's the story about water with your paint, especially on black. All right, with our paint kit, this is a if you've got cheap, really cheap paint, you don't need to add water. Our paint is actually really thick and high quality. So good job, paint. But it can be really hard to work with when you're doing details and nice tiny little lines. So sometimes what you have to do with this kind of paint, because it is so heavy bodied, you'll have to add in a little tiny amount of water to it. But you want to kind of push that back and forth on the canvas. Let me give you a visual on that. So this is just this is cheap paint, student grade, sorry. And then this is heavy bodied expensive paint that comes in the kit. So when you are trying to do a line with this, it can dry brush on you because it's so thick. So you want to just dip your brush into a little bit of water, which I've done, and then you want to just kind of spread it out on the plate a little bit, and see how I'm actually making it. It looks more watery. Well, what this will do is it will actually help you make a really tiny, thin line and get more precision, more detail with it. The other thing that's super important with this though, you cannot paint in a vertical position or you'll get water runs. So then you have to turn your canvas. If you're working on a kitchen counter, that's actually fabulous. But you'll have to turn your canvas like flat to go ahead and work in your line edge like that. And just keep working flat as you're doing all of your black detail. Otherwise, it will just run all the way down your canvas and it will look like mascara runs. And that is not good. So, because I really need to keep mine vertical for y'all to see through the process, I just use more of that student grade paint, and it just, because it is so liquidy to begin with without necessarily having water in it, it's just much easier to go ahead and apply through the process here. So I'm going to go ahead and let me show you this too. Nice thin line edge there. So this is going to become very helpful to do the long line all the way down. I need to turn my canvas a little bit because I can't quite see. If it's running into this, it's going to stop just short of that edge. So I need to turn it over to the side to where I can extend it all the way off the edge of the canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that first. All right, I've got a line there. I need to work that back in. And this gives me better angles from this position, so I'll go ahead and work these in first, and then I'll be turning it back here in a moment. So nice thin line edge around all these different shapes here. We just want that freedom to just extend the brush right off the canvas. Keep checking your end of the brush. Make sure it doesn't fill up too much with paint. I'm going to keep these lines nice and thin. All right, we have a little bit more to go here. All right, so now I can go ahead and turn it. Make sure it's still, nope, not even close. Hold on, gotta get that back. All right, that's better. Okay. All right, so now what we want to do is continue on with our black lines to help make all this really pop out. So nice thin black line there. All right, now I've got a little bit of action happening here that I need to touch up. I'm also discovering that I missed a little bit of stem. Sometimes you don't see it till the very end. So right here, I missed a bit of that stem. So, ta-da, fix that. Then I want to come in with a little bit brush, super tiny little end here. Hi Larry, hi Sean. Hi everybody, I can't see everybody's name, but hello everybody. All right, so here we go. Let's go ahead and continue on with our little tiny lines. And I need to firm up that little stem line in here. All right, and when in Rome, let's go ahead and use this smaller brush to go ahead and come around that edge there. Lots of little tiny black lines we need to work in here just to help really make this pop out towards the front. All right, now we've got more long lines we need to do, so I'm going to go ahead and put this little bit into the water, and I'm going to switch back over to my mama brush, and I want to go ahead and do a nice firm pressure back into the black paint. Yay! Hello, Amber. Okay, so the question is, how do I join in on painting and get the materials? Thank you so much for asking. All right, so all the materials are at tipsyartist.com. And when you get there, you'll see in the menu painting kits. So we have everything you need. And we also sell it separately too. So if you, for example, if you have paint already, if you have canvas already, and you just need the templates, you can also just do the templates and stuff too. But if you don't have anything, then we also just have it as a whole kit. So we've made it really affordable. So it's really, it's actually really, really awesome, because it costs, like almost all painting classes, if you go to one at a studio, you're gonna pay about $35 to go to a class, and you only take your canvas home. So we actually sell the whole kit for $35, and you get to keep the template, and you get to keep the brush, and all actually 3 brushes, and all the paint set too. So it's actually a phenomenal deal. All right, so here we go. We're gonna go ahead and work around this line edge here. Mama brush, check my end, little thin edge there. Hello, hello everybody. All right, so little line. And I'll just work this all the way around. You might want to come in with a smaller brush for this. And let's see, have I done all my stems? I think so. Let's see. Yep. Okay, I'm just checking. All right, so now what I want to do, hi Audrey. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to work in a little bit of some black into the bumblebee, and we'll also be working that into the center of the flower. So I'm going to go ahead and get, this is a pretty big area, so I'm going to go ahead and work into this big section here. And I've got more like texture to teach you, but we're going to go ahead and get this foundation color down, just this background color down here. As much of that as we can. All right, just like that. That's quite lovely. Hi Sandra, and thank you so much. All right, let me go ahead and fill into this one. Take this all the way around. Still got some fun texture I need to teach in there, but this is going to be a good start. All right, and I do want little accents of this black line work coming in around each petal, just a little bit, maybe not completely, but I want to make sure that my end is very thin to do that. Hi Larry, and thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Even better looking than Joe. He thinks he's pretty good looking. All right, so here we go. I'm going to kind of feather these out to little points. All right, it's getting really thick on me. I may try to do I'm not digging on that. So and I'm thinking if I'm struggling with it, you will too. So let's try a little buddy brush here. Nice thin line edge, and I may do more of my little bit to actually do some of this. But what I want are just nice little thin strokes that come around this. Very delicate. And just keep working this all the way around. Lots of little details. I also still need to work in my little stripes for my bees too. and we'll work in the little bee wings. We'll be working on that here in a moment. We're gonna do a nice light color. Aw, thank you, Larry. Joe's running around here somewhere. See, that's looking awesome. All right, little defined petals. And then this will really make these little petals just pop forward too. Very pretty. Nice thin lines. Keep it really delicate. All the way around here. So the shape on this, it feels very much, there's a couple different ways to look at it. So it's kind of like making a parentheses, little soft curve. Another thing it reminds me of, so, you know, parentheses being like this, another thing it reminds me of is the letter V. So if you want to turn your canvas a little bit to where you're always coming down like in the letter V, like that. Sometimes I think it helps the brain if you connect the brain to a stroke that is familiar. And so it just makes it easier to paint. And this is very therapeutic to do this. It's often done as therapy for war veterans. Even though sometimes it's really hard to talk men into doing this in the first place, but and not that all war veterans are men, but boy, I gotta be careful. I gotta be careful. Men or women, what I meant by that was, it's like, okay, clarify. Women always want to do this. There's not much talking into. But men, for some reason, do not. You really have to twist their arm. And then once you get them to do it, they really love it. Most of them. So here we go. So men, you need to try this. It's very fun, I promise. All right, I've got more to go up here. All right, just little tiny lines. Really help accent all these beautiful little petals up here. Kind of getting that little glare from my light here, so I gotta, may have to just, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna turn it for just a second. That's better. Okay, I can see it a little bit better now. Sometimes I get a glare from the light and I can't see the area. And my brush is starting to really, I gotta be really careful and do a lot of this pressure here to go ahead and get it to thin out. Because what happens is your bristles will get filled with that paint and they start to spread. So I gotta get them nice and flat to begin with. And we'll make those nice, delicate little lines. Really helps make all those pop out. And it can be a little bit more like of a sketch of a line too. It doesn't have to fully connect all the way around it. So if I get a little bit of a drag where the paintbrush doesn't quite connect, if it's a little bit like a sketchy dry brush look, that's actually very pretty as well. And then I'll come in around this. Oh, I missed one. There it is. And a little bit more right there. All right. Good job, everybody. Okay, so let's do some of the black in the bee. All right, now I've got a little bit of, I don't want to lose that line there, so I'm going to leave a little bit of that line, a little white line, or else his bottom will just run right to the end of the flower and you'll lose the shape. And then I'm going to do a little bit of tidying up here. Fill that in. See, we had all that real free yellow at the beginning, so it kind of did a little bit of an overlap everywhere. I sure hope nobody has ever been stung by a bee. It really hurts. They're so pretty, but it does hurt. All right, very nice. I actually got to go get honey from a beehive one time too. So there's actually a video of it online. Well, see, this one's going to be easier on me because the black is actually just line work that I need to do around the flower. And I don't lose the shape of it. Oh, but there's a little bit of a trickster right there at the top. See, I don't want to lose the top of the head, so I'm going to go ahead and leave just a little bit of that. And I'll fill in with a little white line later to make that pop out in front again. So I'll fill into this body here. All right, and I've talked about this before. It's in the video, but and the last time I painted a bee, I think I talked about this. But it was a really neat process. So we had to get the bees to relax so that we could safely get the honey from the hive. And so they pumped out a bunch of smoke, and the bees think that there's a fire, and so they gorge themselves on honey, and then they become very tired and relaxed. And then you are able to go in and get the honey from them. So that's how we do it. And it worked perfectly, and I was totally safe. And I did have the little uniform on and everything, but my body was really not that protected. I really just had the headgear on. So I was super happy that it all worked out. But I really had a lot of trust for the person that was guiding me through the process, because he went out and did it all the time. So he said it always works. So I believed him, and it did. It worked just fine. So it was awesome. All right, so here we go. Now I need to go ahead and work in some really pretty light gray to the wings, and then get those wings in there. So let's go ahead and get some more white. And I want to switch to my little bit brush. All right, so here we go. All right, so here is Little Bit. And some white. Let's do a little touch of the black there. Little super, super tiny amount. In fact, I may have even hit that a little too hard with too much. So I'm going to actually use a lot more of this white. So I want a super light heather gray. And then I want to make sure you can see all this. Oops, wrong way. And there, okay. All right, so now I want to do, I've mixed this up into a really light heather gray, but I also want to do a quick little twist with my brush here. So this will twist it into a nice fine point. See that? That makes it a lot easier to paint with. Then I can go ahead and work into these little wings here. So this is just a light, soft heather gray color. And I'll fill all this in. Very lovely. And I'm going to hit this with also, here in a moment, I'll touch into a little bit of some cadmium yellow to get a little bit of some warmth and an accent happening in these little wings here. So starting off with this wet setup of the light gray, All right, now the paint's still wet, so way to go. I'll let that be what it is. Touch into a little bit of this cadmium, teeny tiny amount. Like I don't even know if you can see that or not, but I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of sweep that onto the side. And so as I touch into it, looks like I make that shape of the parentheses, and it just adds a nice little accent right there on the side of the wings. I'm gonna bring that closer so you can see that. So really pretty little accent there. And then if you need to kind of define the little bumblebee bottom here too, I've left that white, but you can also kind of hit this with a little bit of that soft white, with that soft light gray, and just kind of lightly touch over the top so that little bumblebee sits right back on top again. And doesn't, so that little line edge doesn't get lost there. All right, so now I need to work in this little bee wing here. So I'll turn this brush more over to the side, work in this really pretty light heather gray here. Go ahead and work this in over the top. And mine touched into a little bit of that wet black, which actually worked in my favor. That was actually really a pretty drag into that paint, and then it created a nice little blend. So just work this all the way through here. All the way to that little point. And then I want to get that nice little warm bit of cadmium that comes in through here. Where was it? Here we go. So I want to go ahead and do a little line of it. Put all the way around. Actually, I want this to be both sides, just a little bit. And then if you get a little too much, you can also just kind of feather back in a little bit of that light gray right through the center. Blend right back into it, do a soft overlay, and just lightly work back into it. So it just warms up those little wings just a tiny amount. Adds a little bit of dimension to it. Right, now I'm kind of losing a little bit of the top of the head here because it went black against black. So I gotta get a nice fine point again on the tip top of my brush here. So this is my little bit brush. I twist it between my fingertips, get to that really nice fine point, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just lightly outline around this bead here, so that it stands out over the top. All right, very nice. Now I need to do a little bit, just a tiny few touches of some black outlining in here. All right, so I'm gonna take that same brush, and I'm going from gray to black, so I'll get a nice dark charcoal, which is still really nice. Nice fine point. And then I want to make sure I've got these defined over in front of the petals. So I'm coming around those wings again. Little delicate soft lines, bringing those out in front of the petals there so that they don't get lost, and he's definitely popping out in front. So I want to make sure I've got that little line right in front there. If your little gray line that you just did was a little thick, you could also come back and do just a little bit of overlay, just all the way around that too, to kind of help correct that and get that thinned out to where it's very subtle right around the edge. And then I want to work into this. Let me turn my canvas just a little bit, make sure I can get a better angle there. Make sure y'all can still see that. All right, little bit brush here. Little thin black line that comes in around that little wing. Just want to make sure that that bee really pops out over the top here. This was the side that I was really wanting to get to come way out in front. So that definitely helps. And you can do a little bit of tidying up in here. If you have any loose ends with the black, you can always come back in, just little tiny details. All right, let's move that back. I want to make sure y'all can see it. There it is. Okay, now we have some fun texture, and this is optional, but it is a really nice step that comes into the center of your flowers here. So what you can do is, it's a little bit of a really fun pounce effect. So you've got a little bit of that white, and oddly enough, a little bit of, where is that blue? A little bit of blue too. Okay, so I've got my blue and a little bit of my white and the black. And so I'm gonna take my little bit brush here and I'm gonna do a little tiny pounce over the surface area of the middle of the flower. So this is getting a nice soft blend of black and that cobalt blue, or in your kit that would be like a cyan blue, and the white. And so it just creates a nice little pattern over the top. And so you basically just hit towards the canvas like this. And so that's pouncing in that gray. Now I can always come back in with a little bit of black to help soften that up a little bit. Do little tiny touches of the blue. So I keep alternating back and forth between all of those colors. So it's between white and the blue and the black. White, blue, and black. And it's just a fun little amount of texture in there. The other thing you can also do, if you want a little bit of a warmth, it will change it dramatically, but I'm going to touch into a little bit of that cadmium. And I can pounce some of that through there too, and I'm really liking that too. So the cadmium yellow is that right there. And you can do a little tiny touch of that and kind of dab that in there as well. So that creates some really nice texture. All right, so now we're going to go back up to the top here. And we've got our black. We start to pounce that in. A little bit of this blue, a little bit of white. And then let's warm it up with a little bit of that cadmium. But that cadmium really makes that pounce effect pop out over the front. It's really nice. So it adds a really nice dimension there. So I'll just kind of work this all over that surface area. And again, it goes from black to that white, to the blue. Again, just keep pouncing it in, and then also a little tiny touch of that cadmium yellow. So I'll touch into cadmium yellow. It's really important to say cadmium yellow because cadmium starts off a lot of different paints, so I don't want to lose you on that. All right, so just kind of pouncing over the top. Lots of fun texture happening there. Squat down so I can see a little better. Yep, happy with that. And then you want to make sure that if it gets too light near the edge, you don't want to lose that really nice black line work around this. So I'm probably going to pounce one more little circle all the way around with just a little bit of black all the way around. Just so I keep this center part really defined. All right, beautiful. Okay, so a few more little outlines, not outlines, highlights that I can do. Make a nice subtle difference here. I'm gonna cleaned off my little bit brush, and I'm going to come into just a little bit of some pure white paint. Do a quick little twist here into that paint, nice fine point, and then I like to just drag little fine lines around my little leaves here. A few of these on the stems, just little tiny touches. And then if you notice, if any of your little petals get a little bit too dark too, you can kind of eyeball at the end. If you want to do tiny little white highlights at the very end, you can also kind of touch up tiny, keep it tiny, that's the key. But you can add a few more little highlights in your little petals here too. So I can just do a few of those. Just a little bit. Yeah, I'm really liking the little accent. Kind of helps it pop out just one more dimension right over the top. And then same thing with the little wings. Like I can maybe do a little white highlight over the top there too. All right, man, I got everything? I think. I think so. All right, so we've done our beautiful sunflowers and our little bees, and mine is so full in this size, I don't actually do any lettering. Lettering's always an option though. If you are doing some lettering, here is what I recommend. I always recommend taking your pencil first, and if you're really type A, grab a ruler so you can do your line edge to get your letters all firmed up on that line edge. Make sure your painting is completely set up and dry so that you have the ability to erase if it doesn't quite work out. You can also check your spelling, but you do want to make sure that you're not starting a word and it maybe runs off the canvas, or it runs into an object, you're not happy with the composition. So again, this really helps to use these tools. And then an eraser, can help adjust if you need to. And then you can just, once you've got your pencil lettering done, then you can also just firm it up with a paint pen or a Sharpie. It's a beautiful thing. That's the simplest way. Or you can be more of a purist and use like a really small little bit brush. And remember the load in on the brush, very important, as you twist into the paint and get a really nice fine point. And then if you're using our kit and you've got that really thick black paint, you can add some water to it, which will give you a much thinner line of paint to work with. You just have to make sure that you are holding that canvas flat. So rest it on the countertop before you start your lettering project so you don't get water runs with it. All right, now speaking of lettering, but not, I am going to go ahead and do just a quick little reference of a signature for you. So I will go ahead and work mine into this little leaf right here. So traditionally the signature is done in the bottom right hand corner. That is not an absolute rule though. You can absolutely break that rule. I've seen some people, they might choose to place it up the side of the stem here, or the side here, or in this corner. There's all kinds of ways to do that, but I'll just go ahead and sign in my little leaf right here. Tipsy Artist, yay! Okay, so we are done with our beautiful painting, with our beautiful sunflowers and our bumblebees. And so I love it, looks awesome. All right, so if you want to do this with me, you're just seeing this for the first time, know that we sell all the supplies for this to make it really easy for beginners. So on our website, we have these beautiful templates. We have all these shapes. So bumblebee and flowers and leaves. And that's just tipsyartist.com. And it'll say painting kits, the very top menu. We've got paints that come with it and your entire brush set. Mine is all in the water, but basically it's a mama brush and little buddy and little bit. So that's your brush set, everything you need, and then the canvas. So you can just trace it out with me at home. I leave the video up forever so you can come back and watch it anytime. You can rewind or fast forward or whatever you want to do. Pause it when you get to a certain place, but we always make it super easy for you to do. And I'm also getting to the point where whatever I record here, Facebook Live, I load up on YouTube too. So if you have friends that aren't on Facebook and they want to do it that way, it's super easy now everywhere. So we're getting YouTube all caught up now. That's exciting. All right, so again, thank you so much for joining me today. You can find everything you need at tipsyartist.com. We appreciate you so very much for stopping by and painting with me. And I will be seeing you again. I think it's, for sure I go every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday to paint. Lately, I've been painting almost every day. So most days you can catch me right around noon. If I do take a day off though, I for sure still do Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and most Sundays. So look forward to seeing you again super soon, and y'all have a wonderful rest of the day.